Hi, Nick.
Hi.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. All
Thanks
good.
so much. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem. I'd help out.
It's I know you've got a really cool story to tell. And I'm really excited to get delved into it. So I'll just start with, can you tell us what you were doing? Actually, I don't know exactly when you made the change. I was going to say a couple of years ago. Am I about right?
It's, about three now. Yeah, 3 years ago.
So can you tell us what you were doing up until 3 years ago?
So I was a primary school teacher for 13 years. Um, and yeah, I just felt I was coming to the end of that, shall we say, and that it was time for a change.
Yeah. And why did you feel that? I mean, presumably you didn't just wake up one morning and go, I know what I'm going to do today. I'm just going to completely
Yeah,
change my career.
just jack it all in. No, to be honest, there was push and pull factors, and the push factors were obviously, to do with education and finding it increasingly difficult. And I remember when I started at the primary school I was working at, I remember I was sort of the young crew coming in, although it might not look like that now, but I was the young one then, and I remember in the staff room there was some, quite a lot of middle-aged staff members who were really, just shall we say, jaded. Other words could be bitter and things like that. Real sort of downer on the atmosphere. And I remember looking at them just one lunch, and all they do is moan, and I just remembered and vowed to myself that I'd never get to that stage. Just always try and be a positive influence, and yeah. And so towards the end of 13 years, obviously, I could feel myself becoming that staff member that I never really wanted to be. Like I found myself rolling my eyes a lot in staff meetings, and so I just thought, I need to leave. Really, I've come to the end of my time. Um, so that was the push factor, and pull factors was actually, I'd also had some medical news which made me think, we've only really got one life, so you know, why not try something new? And um, I've had an allotment for quite a few years and really enjoyed, being in nature and working with plants. And so the pull factor was to try something new, and that was set up my own gardening company.
I mean, it's very different, isn't it, from going to being in front of a group of kids every day to, planning your lessons to, interacting with the parents, and you're part of this big network, aren't you, of parents, kids,
Yeah,
other teachers, colleagues, etc., to then going to something where, I mean, you're on your own essentially.
yeah,
That must
yeah,
have been quite a big step for you, quite a big
yeah,
change.
yeah. And I remember, like, after quite a lot of teaching days, I just want to sit in a quiet room, you know, dark, quiet room, just get back to normality, because it was almost like, an excess of noise and interaction with people.
Yeah.
And then I'd need to balance it out. And obviously, I've gone the whole other side of the spectrum. And I did struggle at first with that. I did struggle, but I got a little radio, and often I'll listen to Radio 4, or just so it almost, and it sounds a bit strange, just so it sounds like there's other people there, because there's lots of talking on Radio 4, and that was one of those things that you don't really realize about that job until you actually get there, really. And it's like, actually, yeah, I've gone the whole other way, so I need to help myself here, because it was getting a bit lonely. And yeah, so the radio helped a lot.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're saying you had push and pull to make that change. Can
Yeah.
you remember, did you have any fears around leaving something that was so familiar to you to do something that was completely unfamiliar.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, by the end of teaching, obviously, because I was so experienced, I could pretty much just do the lesson, think of the lesson as I was going along, and so that was the experience there. And obviously, then I was going to something which, yeah, I have knowledge of, but not to the depth of 13 years worth of knowledge as I did with teaching. So yeah, it was scary, but again, there's things you can do to help yourself. So I I know before you said, did I wake up one morning? And obviously I didn't wake up. I could feel myself getting jaded over a couple of years. So I undertook a training course with RHS, which is Royal Horticultural Society, did distance learning. So I actually, for the last year of teaching, I was in that transition.
Yeah.
And that made it less scary because I felt like I was increasing my knowledge base. So yeah, there was stuff that you can do to help yourself and mitigate against those risks and fears.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's 3 years ago now, but can you remember what other fears you had? What were the things that were, if anything, keeping you awake at night before you finally handed in your resignation?
Well, the biggest one that everyone would probably have is, will it work?
Yeah.
And I remember I'd left teaching and then was getting everything together over the summer to start in that September. And I just remember thinking, who's going to ring me? Like why would they ring me? Who's going to ring me? And obviously people did, and there's stuff you can do, so advertising and I spent that summer making a website and just getting the name out there and shamelessly advertising to friends and people I knew, so ex-staff members from the teaching days, and word gets round.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're doing a good job. So I would take that as good feedback if you keep getting referred more work.
Yes, yeah, and that's quite good because obviously it's with some jobs you don't they're one-offs. So obviously you can talk to the person and they'll say whether they're happy, but you never really know. So it's more the repeat customers who get you back there. That's the most satisfying, and that validation that actually I am doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, good for you. What have you learned about yourself in this process?
That I am braver than I thought I was, because like you say, there's a lot of people out there that it's very nerve-wracking, and I be honest, I surprised myself that I made that decision, but in yourself that there's a time, so, and that's the overriding factor. And so yeah, I surprised myself with the fact that that I was able to jack it in and start something new. And also I suppose I've learned that I can adapt, which again might be the other fear for people, is that it's such a new area, like how am I going to cope, how am I going to learn all these things? But you learn some things on the job. And for the jobs we were in, so teaching, there was a point at the start of the teaching where I was like, how am I going to learn all this? And you do. And so just if you believe in yourself, it'll happen.
Yeah, that's a big factor, isn't it? Isn't there a lovely saying, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right?
Yeah,
Proving the point.
yeah.
with the benefit of hindsight, do you feel like it was the right time for you? As in, do you wish you'd done it sooner or a bit later, or not at all? It doesn't sound like it,
Um,
not at all, but
so every job has its pros and cons. You know, I think, I don't think I'm cynical, but I think, you know, people would struggle to find that sort of holy grail of job where there's no downside. So, you know, that's the reality. So you have to be prepared that a different job will mean that, you know, hopefully the positives obviously will outweigh the cons. And yeah, would I change anything with hindsight? I underestimated the physical aspect, and obviously starting a very physical job when you are turning 40 can be quite a struggle. So perhaps, you know, if I'd have started it earlier, then, you know, that would have helped. But yeah, you just get on with it. So no, I'm happy with the career, you know, I've had, and I felt that I've left teaching at the right time, you know, on a high almost, you know, and not before I got jaded. And so I'm happy. And yeah, I don't think you can really calculate every pros and cons until sometimes you're in the job.
yeah, you just have to experience it sometimes, don't you?
Yeah.
Can we talk about your support network? You know, when you decided to, or when you were, I guess, making noises about making this career move, who were the people that you discussed it with? Who were the people that were cheerleading you? Who were the people that were like, oh God, you're crazy, don't do that?
Well, so obviously my wife Natalie, she was the biggest and most amazing part of the support network, because yeah, we obviously discussed it because it's a big impact on family life, on her and stuff. So yeah, she was amazing. She was very supportive, and I suppose she helped also to make me believe in myself, you know. And there wasn't any point, I think, where, you know, she was a downer on it. But she was really good because she's got a very sort of scientific brain, so she made me think about the smaller details maybe more than I would have on my own. So yeah, she was really good. Did I have anyone sort of saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" Not that I remember. Not that I remember.
Maybe you blocked them out.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, just talk to the hands. Yeah, not that I can remember. I think, I don't know if everyone just looked at me at the end of teaching was like, "Yeah, you need to try a new job." No, I don't. I think, you know, lots of people were like, you know, we're sad, we'll miss you, but no one was like, because I think secretly everyone has that little bit of them that's like, "Oh, I'd love to try, you know, something new." And you know, as I said before, I suppose it just depends how much of the push and pull factors are operating, whether
No,
you act on it.
I agree with you. I think everybody's got a secret desire to at least try something a little bit different. Yeah, interesting. What does success look like or mean to you?
For me, success is having a positive impact on the planet. So whether that's, you know, people or nature. So I want to leave the planet a better place than where I found it. So obviously with teaching, that was, you know, with the kids, and, you know, just trying to, yeah, educate them and their outlook on life. And so now obviously it's, you know, I've my gardening company is a wildlife friendly focus. So all my plant choices are for pollinators and birds. So, just trying to have that. So success for me is that, and financially over the years I've learned to live with not a great deal, as in I don't need much stuff, so I don't, money for me is not the end game.
Mhm. Thanks for sharing that. And before I ask my final question, can we just give your business a little plug? Because anybody who might be listening in the Bristol area who's thinking, actually, my garden could do with a bit of a spruce. Could you just give us a little plug of your business?
So it's called Wild Gardening. So that's wild-gardening.co.uk. And I obviously specialise in wildlife friendly gardens, so I can do maintenance, planting plans, I can put in a pond for you and give you ideas also on how to create a wildlife friendly garden.
Sounds very cool. That's really awesome. Thank you. And before I let you go, for anybody who's listening to this thinking, oh, I would quite like to follow my dream of starting my own business, what would your advice be?
I would say do it. I think do it, and if it doesn't work, you're qualified in something else in your previous job. You can go back to that, go work for a different company. Failure is okay, but I think you'll surprise yourself and do it, and the rewards are greater than the risks.
Did you, I promised that was my last question and I was clearly lying. I'm curious, did you have a plan B?
Yes, I did. Plan B was to do supply teaching,
Okay.
which didn't. I was hoping, and thankfully didn't. I didn't want to go back for that. I think after a few months of gardening, I felt like my head had left that role. So, but it was an option, and at the end of the day, you got to pay the bills and that. So it was an option to do that, but thankfully, I didn't have to go back to that.
Yeah.
It all worked out.
Well, I've really enjoyed hearing your journey. It's been brilliant. Thank you so much. And thanks again.
No, thank you, Yash.
Take care.